Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our 2013 NFL Draft Prospect Rankings preview video. We're taking a look at the defensive tackle position. We're going to look at the top prospects, some small school prospects, and some sleepers that you want to keep an eye on.
Star Lotulelei out of Utah is my #1 rated defensive tackle in this draft. This guy is 6'3", 320 pounds, extremely strong at the point of attack, does a great job of collapsing the pocket, which in turn forces a double team, and that opens up things for those edge rushers on the outside. Now he has to add a little bit more finesse to his repertoire of moves. Right now he's just a power guy. If he can add better hand placement and finesse, this guy would be the complete package and a total terror at the next level. Sheldon Richardson out of Missouri at 6'3", 300 pounds, a junior, has quickness off the snap and routinely beats one-on-one blockers. Right now he's not as fundamentally sound as you would like, which causes him to play high at times and get out of position. But when you talk about a guy that has the tremendous upside that scouts look for, you talk about Sheldon Richardson. This guy is super athletic, can block kicks as well, and definitely one of those guys that you may see down the line end up being a better pro than he was in college. Sharif Floyd out of Florida is a guy that had underrated versatility in college, played every defensive line position on that front for the Gators, has lateral quickness and also great awareness. He loses his leverage at times, which causes him to get blocked at the line of scrimmage. But you see right here versus left tackle Luke Jokel, who's going to be a top pick, did a great job getting off that block. So I see a versatile guy that should allow a defensive coordinator to be creative with how they plan to use him. I'm a big fan of Kawan Short's game. This guy reminds me a lot of Booger McFarland that played for the Bucs and the Colts. He has a variety of moves and uses his hands very well. I saw that down there at the Senior Bowl, did a great job. One thing he doesn't do well is show consistency from down and down. That's something that he's going to have to improve on at the next level. So you'll see plays like this, but you won't see them consistently, and that's something that he's going to have to get better at. Jesse Williams out of Alabama is a guy that's generating a lot of buzz amongst the scouting community. This is a guy that has a strong base, plays with control, and is very versatile. Played the 5 and also played the nose in a Nick Saban defense. Now, he won't threaten you as a pass rusher. He's a little bit one-dimensional, but what he doesn't do is beat you fundamentally. This is a guy that is very fundamentally sound, will stay home, do what he's supposed to do as far as collapse the pocket, push the pile, definitely a nose tackle at the next level, but also can play the 5 technique in a 3-4 defense. Johnathan Hankins out of Ohio State is 6'3", 320 pounds. He shows good pursuit skills, has a solid frame, and can push the pocket. Now, his inconsistent footwork leads him to get blocked a lot of times. He doesn't disengage very well. But you see right here versus Nebraska, he didn't get the sack, but it's his pursuit skills and ability to collapse the pocket caused a bad play to be made by Taylor Martinez and forced that interception. So this is what you get from Johnathan Hankins, a guy that can play the 1 technique in the 4-3 and also the nose in the 3-4. You definitely have some scheme versatility with Hankins. John Jenkins out of Georgia rounds out my first-round graded defensive tackles. He's 6'4", 350. Reminds me a lot of Paul Soliai that plays for the Dolphins. Does a great job of occupying blockers, uses his hands very well, and is your classic nose tackle. Now, his conditioning is something that has to be monitored because that could create his inconsistent game. But when he's on, he's definitely one of the best players in the country, which is why I graded him out as a first-round type of talent. You need this type of guy if you have a 3-4 defense. Sylvester Williams out of North Carolina is a 6'3", 313-pound 3 technique that does a great job of getting pressure on a quarterback. He can dominate games at times. His only issue is his consistency. You see that a lot with defensive tackles. They have to be able to bring it from down and down in order to be a threat. Akeem Spence out of Illinois, maybe one of the quickest defensive tackles we'll see in this draft, does a great job of disengaging and making plays at or near the line of scrimmage. Now, he's not the strongest defensive tackle in this group, so you'll see him routinely get blocked into the second level and won't be able to hold his own at the point of attack, and that's something that he's going to have to get better at the next level. I came away from the Senior Bowl practices impressed with Brandon Williams out of Missouri Southern, a guy that's 6'3", 343 pounds, your classic 1 tech, 1 gapper, pushing through the hole, nose tackle as well. Shows great strength at the point of attack and did a great job holding his own versus top competition down there in Mobile. I don't know why no one is talking about Chris Jones out of Bowling Green. This guy was very productive for the Falcons. Reminds me a lot of Chris Zorich with his burst off the line of scrimmage, being an undersized guy and being able to line up over tackles, over guards, over the nose. So he has versatility. He also has a skill set to be a very productive pro. I like Jordan Hill out of Penn State. He's your classic 3 technique, 6'2", 294, the quickness and the burst off the snap to beat the guard every play. Doesn't have the strength at the point of attack to hold his own versus the running game, but that's why you may see him as a part of a rotation, especially on third downs. You can make a case for Benny Logan being one of the more consistent defenders on that LSU team. You look at what he was able to do when he had Michael Brockers lined up next to him. The guy was able to get 6.5 sacks. Shows a lot of activity at the line of scrimmage, whether being a disruptive force in the running game or the passing game. There's definitely a spot at the next level for Benny Logan. Monterey Hughes was a guy that played at the University of Tennessee, transferred down to UT Martin, in which he led that Skyhawks defense up front. Very strong at the point of attack. Reminds me a lot of Johnathan Hankins that plays for Ohio State. A little bit more athletic, but not as consistent, which is why I've given him a 4th round grade. Brent Russell was a 2-time All-American for Georgia Southern, and if you look at his career there, he was very disruptive. He does have very good hand quickness, and he can beat a guard one-on-one. His problem is he doesn't have the elite strength to hold his own at the point of attack, and that could cause him to give up position in the running game. Smith out of New Hampshire has the strength that you want at the position. At 6'3", 302 pounds, is routinely pushing guards back into the pocket, and is that type of penetration that, 1, frees up opportunities for the outside rushers, and 2, also allows him to get into passing lanes, and had an outstanding showing in the Texas versus the Nation game. 2 consecutive sacks on back-to-back plays. This guy can definitely play at the next level. At times, Scott Malone of Rutgers looked like a man amongst boys playing on that defensive front. Sometimes he lined up at defensive end, also lined up at defensive tackle. I think his best fit is at D tackle at the next level. Definitely has the speed and quickness. And when I look at William Campbell out of Michigan, when I was at the East-West Shrine game, this guy just dominated each and every practice, was virtually unblockable, and also showed up very well versus Alabama. So the talent is there. The consistency has to find its way into his body in order for him to fully realize his potential as a pro. And Joe Villano out of Maryland, another one of these guys that were dominant from day one, was quite honestly the most consistent player on that Terrapins defense. And I look at a guy that's 6'1", 300 pounds, classic 3 technique, has a tremendous burst off the snap, and has the hand quickness that you want out that position. And when you look at Gilbert Payne, a guy that came out of a small junior college, so this is really his 2nd year of big-time football. So a defensive coordinator will get a guy like Payne that's a big mold of clay that they can mold into a very good NFL prospect. And Mike Purcell out of Wyoming, this guy constantly made plays for that Cowboys defense, was always around the ball, whether it be fumble recoveries, tip passes at the line of scrimmage. You have to like what you saw out of him throughout the course of his collegiate career. There are some additional defensive tackle prospects that also graded out as NFL prospects. And you want to keep it locked in here to Football Game Plan throughout the course of draft season, as our senior draft analyst Chris James does a great job breaking down the prospects on his radio show every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern time at blogtalkradio.com/footballgameplan. And you can also follow him on Twitter at CJFlorida9.